Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani, and welcome back to this YouTube channel where we take on narcissistic relationships, narcissistic abuse, and toxic relationships and people of all kinds. If you're new to this channel, please join us in this great community. Please subscribe. It would be lovely to have you. And you can turn on those notifications, and we'll let you know every day when you'll be told every day when we post new content. So we're back to the Narcissistic Victories series. In this series, we're talking about how do you celebrate the victories you have in a narcissistic relationship. Sometimes they may be so small that other people won't get it, but they're really major steps forward for you. Today, though, we're going to take on sort of another twist in the narcissistic victories. Sometimes you have setbacks as the process of going through these victories, and we're going to talk about those setbacks in a narcissistic relationship today. Now imagine you had a major surgery. You suffer through it, you go home, and then you get a bad infection and you get rehospitalized. You are so angry thinking you finally got treated and recovered, and you are back to square one. Setbacks are a part of life and certainly a part of healing. So let's talk about setbacks as part of healing from narcissistic abuse and how we can think of them in the context of narcissistic victories. When we think about victories in narcissistic relationships, we think like, what is a victory? Not taking the bait, not falling for the gaslight, being able to maintain a boundary even when it's uncomfortable. Those are the victories, and we talked about even ways we commemorate them and all of that. But anytime we're talking about a situation where we're managing victories, we also have to think about how to manage setbacks. Now, up to this date, this series has been optimistic. What are the victories? Commemorating them, healing. But keep in mind that healing from narcissistic abuse is not a linear path. Setbacks are common. So let's talk about common setbacks, and then let's talk about ways to manage them. So the question is, what are the common setbacks that can happen as you're healing from narcissistic abuse, and how do you cope with them? Number one is being hoovered. It's a common setback. Now, in some cases in narcissistic relationships, there is no hoovering, but when there is, it's common to fall for it a few times. The hope and the justification and the magical thinking that kept you stuck in the relationship, the hoovering plays on that, and you feel pulled back in. It's okay. Sometimes people have to go back in and see what this relationship was to be reminded of how bad it is. Trauma bonding is real, and that's why hoovering works. Hoovering is, however, dangerous when it reinforces your commitment to the relationship and makes it even harder to escape. You get hoovered and you get engaged, or you move in with someone, or you quit your job to be nearer to them, or you get married or have a child. Or you get hoovered back into a family system and move to be closer to them. Or you get hoovered back into a bad work situation and leave a better one. Hoovering can really sort of level up the relationship and make it much, much harder to leave. Many people feel a sense of shame when they fall for the hoover, and that is normal. Be gentle with yourself. Your narcissistic relationship was a masterclass in confusion, and most of us fall for the hoover at least once. When you can see that through the lens of common humanity, the idea that it happens to the best of us, it can help you cope. It also means that you may want to cut off as many entry points as you can, blocking, not answering, not engaging. Number two setback is taking the bait. Narcissists are the best baiters around. One could call them masturbators. I couldn't resist. They will poke at you and bait you to draw you into conflict, only to turn around and treat you like you are dysregulated. It's like falling for a bad practical joke repeatedly, and lots of things can contribute to taking the bait. Sometimes, if there has been a long time without contact, you may forget to not respond when you are baited. Sometimes when your bandwidth is depleted because you're tired or stressed. Sometimes because they attack or criticize something that is sacred to you, and you feel compelled to respond. Whatever it is, it's normal, and we all do it and have done it when we're baited. Once again, self-forgiveness and self-compassion go a long way to you letting yourself off the hook and work on firming up those boundaries. Number 3 on setbacks is that you start getting in touch with the narcissistic person secretly. Now, this may not be full on hoovering, but rather you and the narcissist secretly being in touch, but you tell nobody, turning it into a secret, almost like an affair. Many times this happens because your narcissistic relationship has been such a roller coaster, and you are embarrassed or ashamed that if people know that you're still in touch with each other. Now, narcissistic people love secretive relationships where they feel that they're doing some sort of bad thing. And the sneakiness may actually pull the love bombing back out of them, which can be quite seductive. People doing this secretive contact thing will not tell anyone, though the shame may start to build or the fear of losing support may come up if people know you are talking with the narcissist, since those people may have supported you through the difficult relationship and or the breakup. You can view this almost as a form of self-hoovering. It's not good for you. You want to keep those mantras about a narcissistic relationship close by. They're never going to change, and this is not going to end well. Go back, write down a list of all the terrible things that they did in the relationship with you, and look at the list. It won't be comfortable, but it may be necessary. Number 4, the small setbacks. Small setbacks are things like unblocking them on social media or engaging in more and more regular communication with them and the texts getting longer and longer. This may not be hoovering either or even getting back together, but it's bringing them back into your fold. This gets tricky because a narcissist is all about gamesmanship and they will keep playing with the boundaries. When it is possible, and it's not always possible if it is a co-parenting situation or certain workplace situations, but when it is, keep it tight. With a narcissist, if you give an inch, they will take a mile. Ask yourself why you want to be in touch with them. What are your hopes? And how much is the trauma bond in play? What I'd love to hear from all of you is the setbacks you've had as you try to sort of heal and move forward. Please drop those setbacks in the comments because those actually really help other people to hear what other kinds of setbacks people are experiencing. Also, would love to hear, how do you manage these setbacks to your narcissistic victories? Setbacks can often result in shame, embarrassment, and isolation. This idea of not wanting people to know that you slipped. People sometimes feel foolish. Remember the statistic from the domestic violence literature. People return to abusive relationships on average 7 times before they leave for good, if they survive. Narcissistic abuse is similar. The lapses, the setbacks, and the falling back into it are common. Self-compassion, self-forgiveness, reminding yourself that this is normal, validating yourself for the courage to step away or step back for a minute are all important. To make the victories and the growth and the healing more likely, you need social support, ideally access to good therapy, activities that you enjoy. If you're lucky, these activities you enjoy may be things like paid work, but if they're not, there are other things that they could just be other things that you do that are meaningful to you. Things like good daily practices, a routine, a community, or online support. I understand that not all of these things are available to everyone, but even if you could strive for a few of them, it could really help. You need voices that remind you of what it was like, that do not gaslight you. You need to pay attention to what it feels like to go through a day and not be criticized or invalidated or minimized. All of these things can strengthen you inside and outside and get you out. But as part of a healing journey, you do need to prepare for setbacks, the social support and the daily practices and all of that. That is the equivalent of packing a suitcase for a trip and making sure you have everything you need. But even with the best packed suitcase, things can still go wrong, and you need to make allowances for that. Whether that is resilience, having realistic expectations, not getting angry at yourself when you lapse into old habits or let hope sneak in, and dusting yourself off and setting the boundaries again. Lapses take a toll, but they do not mean that all is lost. The setbacks are part of the journey. It's where those victories, like trophies, get dented. And if you can build the setbacks and how you manage them into how you view the victories, well, then that is a victory in and of itself. So don't let those setbacks get you down. In fact, I often say healing from narcissistic abuse is often 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. The setbacks, though, happen. Those are the 2 steps back, but you're still getting forward 1 step at a time. And again, in a video like this, I'm going to always mention those of you who are really interested in the healing work, if you want that more intensive experience, please go to the video notes, hit that link. This starts real soon, and so I hope it's something that really helps you as you push back on narcissistic abuse.